people don't use the iPhone for data transfer via cable, do they?
I do, because I'm on Android, and it does help quite a lot.
Really? Most people just keep their things on that device. Most Apple users, I'm sure they've got the data to show that no one's transferring, 10 gigs over to their computer anymore, like when we used to do it with the iPod Touch.
I think it depends on what you're doing. If you are a content creator who uses their phone to record what they mostly do, and they have a computer to edit afterwards, I think it would make sense to have Type-C so you can have faster transfer speeds than having to do it over Wi-Fi.
I completely agree. But again, they're going to have the data to show that most people with an iPhone would love to be content creators, but actually don't do that.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that they're not. Or could they do a split? On the Pro version, they have the full bandwidth, and on the other version, they don't.
That kind of sounds like something Apple would do in a way.
Yeah.
From Press Red, welcome to Functions. This is episode 6. My name is Matt Blackman, and I'm joined by Eli Ture. Hello, Eli.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. Fun, busy summer.
Yeah, it's a good one. The summer's here now, which is kind of weird, but it was a nice break.
The summer's here when it ended,
yeah,
which is always great, and how the UK weather works. So during the time we've had off, I've been working on my own channel. I've done, I think, 3 or 4 reviews, and as of last week, I hit 100 subscribers, so that was nice.
Congratulations.
And 7,000 views, so a very successful summer.
That's brilliant. 7,000 views.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been working hard to get that whole system up and running, and finally I'm getting somewhere. Like just before this podcast, I was setting up Substack, which is how I host this podcast actually.
Yeah.
But I'm setting it up so it's an easy emailing list, so if YouTube doesn't notify people, they can still get an email. It's a system I'm testing out.
Okay, cool. I do find that the YouTube is how YouTube alerts people to your podcast is a minefield, and convincing people to subscribe to YouTube and that it doesn't cost them money is a barrier I didn't know existed until this summer.
Yeah. So as we've been away for so long, I've kind of noted down a couple things that I found interesting while we were off. The main thing is that Nothing, the company that I have my phone from and my headphones from, that I no longer use really, they've launched a new company called CMF, which is, I believe, a reference to the production line system. I've forgotten what it stands for. Color, material, and an F. And it's to launch cheaper products that don't fit their style.
Right.
And they've already announced like a watch. Sorry, they haven't announced. It got leaked a couple of weeks ago. A watch and what was it? I've noted it down somewhere.
Oh, is it the charger?
No, they haven't talked about a charger. Oh no, they did. They have a wall plug one, not like a wireless charger, but just a wall plug.
Oh yes, I'm looking at it now. It looks great. The watch looks nice.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
It does look like what people thought the Apple Watch Pro or whatever it was going to be called at that point was going to be. Yeah, I think I might buy it for a review or to generally just use it, but I'm not sure at the moment.
So is it a cheaper line of products? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, it's a cheaper line of products.
I'm seeing they're targeting India.
Yes.
I think we are at a saturation point with technology where I'm surprised we're not seeing more brands actually just releasing cheap products. We got there before when mobile phones blew up in the kind of mid to late 90s. They got to a saturation point where everybody just made their phones free with a contract because that was the only way to reach more people. I'm surprised we haven't got there yet.
I think it's because of Apple. It has really changed how we see a lot of our products. We see them as a premium product that we all need instead of a cheap product that we can buy to use to communicate.
Yeah, Apple definitely ruined a lot of things when it comes to spending money. The £1,000 price point was highly criticised when Apple done it, and now it's like every brand feels they have the right to charge £1,000 for a phone.
So I noted down here, because at the moment a podcast platform that I listen to a lot and have been listening to during the summer holidays is Relay FM. At the moment, they're doing a charity event. I thought I'd just mention it because why not? They're a podcasting company that produces stuff like Cortex, Upgrade, Connected. Those are all their shows, and they're doing a cancer research charity fundraise at the moment.
Oh, brilliant.
Just thought I'd mention that. Now, let's get on to the actual topic that we are all very interested in. We have another Apple event coming up. We've got a couple of...
I'm excited.
It's next week, isn't it? Next week.
I am so excited. Yeah.
At the time that you're listening to this, because we're trying something new, we're going to be doing half of this episode before the show and the other half after the show. So you can get both views at the same time. So this bit will be us kind of looking at what people have theorized and what news articles have been writing about and what we think is going to happen. So what are you expecting, Eli?
I think Apple September events are extremely easy to predict. I expect... Is it in person, this event? Is it going to be their first fully in-person event?
No. There are people who are going there, but they're going to be there to just see the screen. I don't see the point in really going. This is all of the news writers, podcasters, content creators, all going there to report on the thing as soon as it happens.
Well, they done that last time because there was a demo area afterwards. So I'm guessing they're excited about whatever it is they're releasing.
It does seem pointless if there is no demo area. Why would you go all that distance just to look at a screen you could have looked at when you're at home?
Yeah. So the slogan, if you like, or the caption this year is Wanderlust.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Well, I know what it means, but I don't understand.
In the context of Apple, yeah.
Because each time they come up with a theme, what on earth does that theme mean?
I mean, well, let's look at what they've got running down the pipeline. I mean, obviously there's going to be a new iPhone.
Yes.
So we don't really need to speculate there.
We can speculate what it's got, and I've noted down some of the things that people have talked about.
Okay, well, let's go there. I'll go one, you go one. Obviously, USB-C.
Yes. But there are going to be reported that there are going to be limits to how good this Type-C cable is. Because Apple didn't really want to do this. They kind of wanted to keep with Lightning for as long as possible. It seems like they've limited it to 480 megabytes, which is
Per second. Right.
way lower than it can do. Type-C is usually USB 3.2, and that supports speeds up to 20 gigabytes a second.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I don't understand why they've limited it, but people don't use the iPhone for data transfer via cable, do they?
I do, because I'm on Android, and it does help quite a lot.
Really? Most people just keep their things on that device. Most Apple users, I'm sure they've got the data to show that no one's transferring, 10 gigs over to their computer anymore, like when we used to do it with the iPod Touch.
I think it depends on what you're doing. If you are a content creator who uses their phone to record what they mostly do, and they have a computer to edit afterwards, I think it would make sense to have Type-C so you can have faster transfer speeds than having to do it over Wi-Fi.
I completely agree. But again, they're going to have the data to show that most people with an iPhone would love to be content creators, but actually don't do that.
Yeah.
And it goes to show that they're not. Or could they do a split? On the Pro version, they have the full bandwidth, and on the other version, they don't.
That kind of sounds like something Apple would do in a way.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that. They have also limited how fast charging will work, which is annoying.
Okay.
They've made it so their new cables, which we'll get onto in a sec, they will be the only things to support fast charging. Yet again, this is all speculation from news articles before what we've actually seen.
This is something they've done with the MacBooks as well, so that would not surprise me. So with the MacBook Pro, I've got the 14, but I'm sure the bigger one too. You can charge with USB-C, but you can fast charge with the Apple MagSafe.
I think it's a terrible idea to do that, but very Apple. I mean, why would you limit it to this amazing device that they have made for years? They just seem to be limiting more and more as years go on.
Yeah.
I mean, the iPhone is my least favorite Apple product and why I stopped getting iPhones.
I'm in the market actually, so I'm interested to see what else this iPhone 15, if it's called that, will have.
Which phone would you go for? Like the lower tier, or the higher tier stuff?
With the iPhones, I always go for the middle actually. So at the moment, I'm on a 12 Pro. I never gone for the Pro Max, and I never go for the iPhone that's not a Pro.
So what makes an iPhone Pro Pro?
Cameras normally. It's cameras and ProMotion on the screen, from what I understand.
See, I think I've discussed this in a past episode. For me, it should be that Pro means content creator. Medium phone is what people should buy, and then you have a small phone. That's what I would put under the 3 tiers. But Apple seems to have got rid of the small phone, made the medium tier pretty much useless, then put the Pro, then Pro Max, and then a Pro Ultra or whatever they're going to come up with next.
Yeah. I guess like you're looking at things from the perspective of a content creator. Like we should be able to have this high throughput and really good cameras and mics. But pro could mean many things. Could be pro gamer. Could be pro admin worker. You know, or it could be lots of other things. Pro artist. But we tend to think about iPhone in terms of capturing images, don't we? And that's them. They've promoted it in that way. They've had their whole campaign of shot on iPhone. But actually, they don't really explain what they mean by pro.
I find it
Is the
hard
pro
to
name dead?
think of what pro could really mean on all these other in all these other ways, though, because content creation has taken over the market primarily, and pro to me has always seemed like a camera thing, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see very many more differences between the pro and the normal version of the phone. That means it could be for other markets. I can understand it for maybe anyone that needs measurements, because it also has that, is it infrared? Not infrared.
LiDAR.
LiDAR, that's it. It also has a LiDAR system. So that makes sense to me. But for gaming, as you just said, I don't think it even has a different chip. The only thing that would be different is the refresh rate of the screen. And that's not that important when it comes to mobile gaming, I don't think.
No. I wouldn't like... Knowing Apple, they're a marketing company, and I wouldn't like to think that, well, pro, it doesn't mean anything. It's their way to differentiate and sell something more expensive. And they know that, and they know they're this aspirational company that can say, we've got the pro model, and most people are going to buy it because it's a better model in name.
Yeah, maybe it is just called pro so they can get more money out of it.
Oh, not maybe.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they need to change actually their name and strategy. Yes, they need something to say this is the better phone. But the word pro, as you said, is misleading because traditionally, and I mean, 10 plus years back, pro actually meant something in the Apple lineup.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, that's the same with the new iMac, or sorry, not iMac, the Mac Pro.
Mac Pro, yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely targeted towards people who need those specific utensils, nothing else. And that makes sense for the name because it's targeted towards pro people. But then we go against that rule with the phones where pro really just means expensive.
Yeah. Do you know what? They're so big and so popular, they could call it the iPhone expensive and people would buy it.
I would find it very funny. And I think personally I would try and buy it then just for the name.
Yeah, that's great. So what features have you got?
So I've looked at Apple. Rumors are suggesting that Apple will consider bringing back the Touch ID, but this time as an under-display solution.
Well, why?
I think it's a good idea to have multiple different ways to sign in. Because if you think about it during lockdown, remembering those good times, nobody could use their face to open up the phone, could they?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's a good idea to have multiple different ways to sign back in. I don't think it's a good security thing because there would be a lot of ways to breach the phone. But it is better for the user to be able to have as many ways onto their phone.
Okay, Touch ID. I'd like to see how their marketing team actually introduced that feature without saying we shouldn't have taken it away in the first place. But yeah, Touch ID.
I mean,
okay.
they did it with the MagSafe charger
And a touch bar
and the touch bar.
and a butterfly keyboard. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
I love the touch bar. I'm sad that it's going.
I do get jealous when one of my colleagues has got a touch bar, and every time I glance over, I think, I used to miss changing my volume on the touch bar. I used to miss autofill on a touch bar. There were some really nice little niche things you could do with it, but ultimately, it hasn't slowed me down not having one.
Yeah, it just seems more useful. Instead of having these function keys that could mean anything, it's labeled. But I do understand that it didn't feel right to click on, I guess.
Too soon. It's just one of those things. I think a lot of companies get there, where they're trying to innovate and they go too far into the future. If they released that feature 10 years from now, it might have been more successful.
Yeah, maybe they'll come back to it and use it then.
Yeah.
In fact, the 2017 MacBook Air that had the bar, the first one to have the bar, has just been classified as retro, which I cannot understand.
Oh, Jesus.
I think it's classified as retro on their own website.
That was I think it was the 2016.
Was it 2016?
I believe
But
so.
how can that be counted as old or retro?
It's tech. It's
Yeah.
tech. Okay, so we've got Touch ID, which is crazy, and USB-C.
And
Are they
coloured
gonna-
cables.
And coloured braided cables, I believe. aren't
Yeah. Yes, they are.
they? How about colours? I heard they're going to have new colours on the Pro, because traditionally the normal models get the pastel kind of Easter egg colours, and the Pros get like the basic kind of gold and silver and black.
I did not look into this. Let me just type it.
So there's been some leaks of different case colourings, and they're going to have a lot more colours for the Pros, but they'll be really muted. They won't be as vibrant as the other ones.
Here's another look at the rumoured boring new colours for the iPhone 15.
There you go.
We seem to have like a light bluish, a pink, a white, a kind of creamy colour, and a black. I have to link this. But yeah, I don't think I've ever brought a phone or got an iPhone that wasn't just black or white. That's about the limit for me.
I think if they made a rugged phone, I'd worry about colour. I can be concerned with colour because I wouldn't have a case because it's rugged. But we all have cases. It's
I don't.
much about nothing. You don't?
No, I think last time we recorded the podcast, I did have a case, but I decided after a while I'm just not going to have a case on my phone anymore because it looked so horrible and it was going yellow already. I have a lovely nothing phone.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to look horrible. And to be fair, it's doing well. The back hasn't been scratched that much. It's just still a finger magnet for fingerprints. But the front is getting scratched up to hell.
I just settle for having a big case, which my case is one of those granddad kind of wallet cases where you can put all your cards and whatnot in.
I had one of
and it
those.
folds open. I settle for that and actually popping my phone out of the case every few weeks and going, this feels nice, and then putting it back away. That's good enough for me.
I've done that many times. Last time I had one of those cases was with the iPhone 4S. I loved it. It was great. Have you got any other things that we could talk about? I know we got lists, but I thought we'd pass it to each other.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to get improved cameras on the iPhone 15.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
I just don't know what the system's going to be. Is it a real upgrade or is it going to be one of these software upgrades that they sometimes do?
According to some articles, it is believed that the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus will adopt a 48 megapixel camera, which is
so
the first
a real
time they've
upgrade.
upgraded the megapixels for ages.
It's normally 12, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I thought it was 24 megapixels.
Oh, okay.
And an interesting bit of technology that every other phone company has kind of taken up now. We're finally getting the periscope lens.
Okay. All right. What's going to be the focal length?
The
Periscope. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
the standard telephoto lens allows up to 15 or 10 times optic zoom. It does not say how much.
So
The new
10 times optical zoom.
yeah.
That's good. That's impressive. This is going to be massive.
It's
this
gonna
camera.
be so how that camera works, as because it's a periscope, it's gonna have this kind of, I guess, like a tube underneath the case of where the sensor actually is, and going to reflect the light onto a mirror into the lens, where there will be the sensor behind it, so it can change the magnification.
Okay.
My
All
brain
right,
is
well,
not
that's-
working today.
You know what? If any feature gets people to buy iPhones, it's the camera. So
I think
if they can
that's
achieve
going to
that-
be a huge benefactor to everyone buying the phone.
even though they're last with it, and Samsung's had these amazing zooms for generations now. Apple are just good at letting you know it's there and getting you to use it as a feature.
Yeah.
And I think many people will say, wow, have you seen what the iPhone can do? I'm getting that. And they might even already have access to that feature on what they've got.
I guess what's boring about an iPhone, though, is everyone's got an iPhone and they all look the same. There's no standing out in the crowd anymore, is there?
But this is human nature, and I think Apple know that. We all have grey or black or navy cars. We all live in very similar looking houses. We're just, this is humans. We all want to be the same. There are some outliers or people who think they're individuals or try to be individuals, but ultimately they're not selling to them, they're selling to the crowd.
Yeah. You got any more questions?
So that's all I've seen so far about the iPhone, but I'd love for them to change the size of the iPhone.
Oh, I'm with you on that. But would you go bigger or smaller?
Well, my sister's got a 12 mini. I've got a 12 Pro, and I do feel like there's something in between that would suit me. The mini is a bit too small, and the Pro to me is a bit too tall. So I'd like a new size there, maybe a Mini Max.
A Mini Max.
That'd be great.
That's a great
I know
name.
it will never happen. How about you? Would you go bigger or smaller? Or keep it the same?
So my dad has the 12 mini as well, and I generally miss how small a phone is, because it's quite interesting using his phone, how the fact you can reach the top of the screen without having to shift the entire phone, and I very much miss that. But
Yeah.
for content, it's too small for watching stuff. So I guess I would have to agree with you. I'd maybe want it a little bit bigger, but not by much.
It's interesting because when you watch your breakdown on your YouTube studio, loads of people still watch videos on their phones, and I was really surprised by that. So when you say the content's too small, my immediate reaction would be, well, just watch it on your telly. But that's not happening, and it doesn't show any signs of moving that way ever.
So with phones, most people own a phone compared to a computer now, I think. I think they're way more common than a computer. And people have gotten so used to it. I would prefer using my computer to watch content, to do anything really. But when I'm not at my desk, the phone does very well at showing me what I want, and actually has got a better screen than my computer does.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that immediacy factor, isn't it? The best camera is the one in your pocket, and so is the best screen, I guess.
I've got in my hands right now, I've got the iPhone 4S that I had, the iPhone 5, and the first generation iPod. I'm just trying to decide which size is actually good. And I'd have to go for the iPhone 5S, sorry. I think that's slightly bigger, or maybe the same size as the 12. I'd have to pick it up and give it a try.
Okay.
I think the iPhone 5S was the best phone, in my opinion, though.
The form factor, the case itself, they could fill that up with screen now, and it would be great, because obviously a lot of it wasn't screened at the time.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Like, are you a person who doesn't like bezels?
I like bezels. I don't dislike bezels, but I like bezels that are even all the way around.
Yeah, like the Nothing phone. But Apple seems to hate bezels and think that everyone hates bezels. I'm getting really annoyed with my phone at the moment, the Nothing phone. I keep accidentally tapping the screen because I'm holding it and my thumb, skin touches the screen. I hate it. I would really like, I've really thick bezels on the side.
Yeah, and it just doesn't look that modern, and I think that's the problem. I've got the iPad Pro 13-inch, and the bezels are thin on the side, and as good as the Palm Reject software is, it's not 100%.
No.
And I've got an ancient iPad. What was it? iPad Air 2. No, iPad 2, not even iPad Air 2. It's a white one, and it's got that thick bezel all the way around the edge, and it's a beautiful thing to hold, but it looks ugly.
Yeah, I think I have the iPad Air 3 somewhere.
Right.
And yeah, those look so much. Although I will say, I very much like the look of an iPad at the moment, and my brain is deciding through multiple different devices of which one should I buy to do my college work and my personal work as well. Because
Buy a Samsung.
say again.
Buy the Samsung, the new one.
Oh God, no.
No?
I am a firm hater of Samsung. We have a Samsung TV, but I hate their Android the most.
Yeah.
Is what annoys me. And they always
Okay.
make the ugliest looking things. Up until recently, they made some nice things, but I've always hated their operating system. It's cluttered with rubbish. It's hideous. Just make it simplified. Make it look like Apple. Someone make Apple for Android, please. I miss iOS. I don't miss the iPhone. I miss iOS.
Yeah, it's very nice on the tablet, I must admit. And I haven't even tried 17 yet, but I'm quite happy with 16.
Have you tried any of the new version? What are we on? iOS?
We're on 16 now.
Yeah, is it iOS 17 then? The new one?
Yeah. It's a new one, 17, that is about, I guess, to come out next week at some point. And I normally beta test every year. This year, I didn't go for it because the early ones weren't very stable, and I kind of forgot, to be honest. But no, I haven't tried it, so I'm going to try it with the public and experience it with everybody else. Looking forward to it.
See, I guess that's the one area that would be nice to have two phones.
Yeah.
So you can have one to run a demo on and one to just have working still.
Yeah. I remember trying a beta before, and I went on holiday. So this is 2013 when iOS 7 came out, and going from 6 to 7 was a complete redesign, and I had to have it. So I downloaded it. It was beta 1. They didn't do public betas at the time, so it was beta 1. And then I went abroad, and I had this phone, and I couldn't connect properly to Wi-Fi or anything, and it just didn't work properly for me, and I couldn't use internet banking because the beta wasn't supported, and that was the biggest mistake of my life. I was on holiday, but I couldn't transfer money.
iOS 7 is one of the most hated operating systems.
Hated?
Hated updates to iOS.
Really?
Everyone hated it except me. I loved it.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was the best update because it actually made it look nice.
And it made it look different. And what was amazing is I had it first. So you can imagine I'm abroad. I was actually on my stag do, I was on Magaluf. And everyone who saw you pull your phone out and get the camera would like, look, what's that? They'd actually be interested because it was so different than any other iPhone they'd ever seen.
Oh, I forgot that the camera app also updated at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they're ever going to update that again? Because they kind of kept to that style. The camera app hasn't really changed in a very long time. Do you think it's worth changing, or don't?
The last change they had was they made the drawer, didn't they? So the drawer at the bottom that you can pull up.
Yeah.
But I don't think they should. I think they should have that camera app as the swipe over app, but maybe make a pro camera app as well that you have to access, or you can swap it out with.
There's plenty of good pro camera apps out there that I've seen recently, because I follow, for a person who doesn't own a single Apple product anymore, I seem to follow a lot of Apple news. And so there's been a lot of apps at the moment being released specifically for the camera for some reason. I've just noticed it a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of time. Apple will, they'll kill all of those apps and make one that has all of those features in, but does it better and does it for free. And I'm happy to wait for that. And I have tried a few of those. The problem I have with them is they have locked features a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I haven't got time for in-app purchases, really.
I've never bought a app on iPhone.
Really?
No. We should probably actually get back on topic. So with the iPhone 15, models are expected to feature an A series chip built in. Supplier of TSMC, next generation 3 nanometer node. Now, I don't know what that means.
So they're going down to the 3 nanometer process now. That's the first time, right? Because there've been 5 up until now. I suppose future-wise, that's great because the A processor chips are always coming out before the M's. So the next generation M3, I guess, maybe 3 nanometer 2, which means you can pack a lot more power with less heat and whatnot. So the future's great. I mean, I don't think iPhones need to be any more powerful, or any phone for that matter, actually. But for me, I'm just looking onto cross-platform stuff. What does that mean for MacBooks? What does that mean for Apple TV? What does that mean for the Apple Watch? And it can only mean good things.
Do you think they're ever going to release another Apple TV?
If they do, they have to change the form factor. Maybe they integrate it with brands. So maybe LG has Apple TV integrated inside. I mean, that would be the way to go.
Actually, have you heard of the Disney situation at the moment?
Disney are trying to slim themselves down. They're trying to get rid of ESPN, aren't they, to sell?
Yes. And so I listened to a lot of Upgrade, yet again, from Relay FM. And they've been talking a lot about Apple buying Disney.
Yeah, the numbers work.
And I love the idea of this. I think it's a really good idea, and I'm all for it. I just hope that Apple, when they buy them, they don't put Apple TV on Disney Plus or Disney Plus on Apple TV. I want it to be a part of that one subscription that they have. 2 separate apps. I'm absolutely fine with that. Do not put them together. They're entirely different content, in my opinion.
Yeah, they've got different approaches to the Apple TV is more of the HBO model, the quality over quantity, and Disney's more of the a la carte, chuck everything in the box and take it home.
We can have Apple Land instead of Disneyland. Apple Land.
I even though the numbers work, I don't know if. I'm not even going to pretend to know the ins and outs, but I just don't see that synergy happening. Why would Apple want to have theme parks and kind of boat tour companies or shipping companies, whatever they're called?
Well, like a couple of years ago, none of us thought of Apple as having a content platform such as Apple TV Plus, but they do, and they do a really good job at it. So I think they can do it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be weird and take some time to get used to, but I think Apple could do it. And as long as Apple leaves Disney to do its stuff, and they only help each other when they need to, really, it won't feel that different.
I was listening to a breakdown, and I'm probably going to screw the numbers up, but they were saying that Apple's reserves, which they've got almost 3 trillion in reserves, almost there, they make 60 million a year from interest. And they were saying that if they're to buy Disney with some of their cash reserves, that it needs to be profitable quite quickly for it to make sense, because at the moment they could just make money doing nothing. And Disney's not making profits in their film division, at least at the moment. I think actually it's only their parks that are clearly making a big profit at the moment.
Well, complete opposite of what lockdown was like, I guess. But the only reason why they're losing so much money is because they've thrown so much money at these productions to try and get Disney Plus going. If they get it going and then just ignore it afterwards, it should be fine. It's confusing. I think we should do a full episode on this at some other point so we can fully discuss it.
I would love to talk about it because it's not good for the film industry. You can see what the film industry is going through at the moment because these companies have so much power over writers and over technology and over kind of production houses and actors. If big old Apple gets in charge, that's even less big companies. We'll have, because Amazon own Paramount, we'll have Apple.
Wait, does Amazon own Paramount?
Yeah.
I had no idea about that.
That happened a couple of years back. And then Apple will own Disney, and then you've got Netflix, which is a giant done to itself. We'll start losing studios. Sony's obviously Sony.
I'm kind of fine with that. I kind of see these companies. It makes sense in my mind for all of these huge tech companies to buy these production companies. I don't know about Warner Brothers if that would go that well. I don't know who would buy Warner Brothers.
Well, Warner's Viacom, isn't it? Viacom's like the biggest marketing company in the world. Or did they just? I think yes. So Viacom, because it was Time. Yes, it's Time Warner. Now it's Viacom. But I think again they're trying to do something as well. That they've got another 2 years before they can sell, but they're making moves too.
As I said, I have actually planned an episode fully on how AI affected media. So I guess we can group that in as just media being affected at this moment.
Yeah.
So wait for another episode when we will discuss this. We have a slightly bigger RAM, it seems like, as well, with this new update.
Doesn't matter.
Nah, it doesn't, does it?
Matter. Who cares?
We're going to get 6 gigs of RAM.
Yes, I mean, Apple, and they don't announce specs themselves, do they? But I mean, the specs do not matter.
No.
iPhones have been good enough for 5 years.
What do you think the price will be for these new phones?
What's the price now?
That's why I'm on the website.
Okay.
The iPhone 14 is $799. So pounds. It doesn't matter because they don't do the exchange.
Yeah.
And for the iPhone 14 Pro, it's $1,000.
Okay. So I think we're going up because all companies can claim now that, cost of living or materials have gone up. So I think we're going to go up, and I think 10%. So I think we're going to go for 1,100 for the Pro.
Great. That's going to be so much better.
It means nothing. Everyone's getting it on a contract. Everyone's having a subsidized phone. But when you compare that to a MacBook Air or a Mac Mini, are we going crazy? A normal person, an alien, would look down and say, I'm just going to get a feature phone and a Mac Mini and spend half the money that I would on an iPhone Pro Max.
Yeah. I'm on the website right now, and I entirely forgot that iPhone SE is still a thing.
That's $399, right?
It's, yes, around about $429.
Oh, yeah, I remember it went up when they released the 2022 version. It's a good phone, but it looks ugly because it's got bezels.
Yeah. I don't mind the bezels, as I said. For me, I don't like the curve. I've never been a fan of the curve. Why would you want a phone that slips out of your hand like butter? Soap.
Well, that's the old people iPhone. I know because I bought it for my grandma and she loves it.
So, also, how long do you think it will be until they release the phone? They usually do it in like a week, but I kind of feel like it might be a bit longer. Isn't it? A week or 2 weeks, yeah. But I think it's going to be longer because of the Type-C cable.
Right, okay.
Because I think the UK government wasn't happy with what they've done so far, so they had to delay it. So I think they're delaying the cable release a little bit. I don't know. Not fully.
I mean, will they sell it with a cable in the box, do you think, or will it just be...
I don't know. I don't feel like they will, because everyone's got a Type-C. Oh, no, because it's an entirely different generation. I guess they would have to. Unless the colour cables don't come with it. They're an extra, and you can get the normal plasticky one.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to?
What?
Being able to charge my MacBook, but then pull the power cable out and charge my iPad, but then pull it out and charge my iPhone with the same cable.
I'm already living this life. I'm Android. I can plug in the Steam Deck, charge it now, swap over to my phone now. You Apple people have to cope with multiple different cables.
But zoom out, okay, historically, from a person that's lived through all sorts of proprietary cables, this has never happened in history. The closest we got was when we had figure eight power cables for a lot of our things. So your home stereo would plug in via figure eight, and your printer would plug in via figure eight, and your toy charger for your AA battery charger may plug in via figure eight. But we've never got to a consistent place that everything charges from the same cable. I think we'll be there in 5 years. That's amazing.
I think that's going to be great when everyone has the same cable, because you won't be that person asking for a charging cable, but everyone else has a lightning.
Yeah.
And I'm very much happy with that. But it does mean that everyone's going to have to kind of swap over now, which is going to confuse a few people who aren't tech savvy.
It will, but but everyone's got those tiny cheap USB-C cables around their house that came with something they bought in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll just whip those out. DJ software now, DJ hardware, everything 2023 is USB-C instead of the old kind of printer type USB.
I'm still on that cable. I've still got that cable somewhere.
Yeah, well, I noticed that cars moved on to USB-C a couple of years ago, so I do think it is becoming the thing.
Here's the important question about the whole event. How long will it be?
Have we got options for this?
Let's go 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half.
Okay, I want to hear what you say first.
I'm going to go, I think an hour and a half, because I can't think of how they can talk. I'm going to say hour 45 specifically, because I don't think they can talk that much about an iPhone release unless they release a new Apple Watch, but I don't feel like that's likely. It depends on what they announce, I think, primarily.
Okay. Here's what they're going to do. So it's going to be iOS 17, iPhone, focusing on camera, then focusing on USB-C and how they invented USB-C. And then I think we're going to get Apple Watch. I do think we'll get Apple Watch. And then I believe they're going to show a new iPad. So I think it's going to be 1 hour.
You think they're going to show
50.
a new iPad?
Yeah, I don't think they'll release it, but I think they'll show something that they've done new with iPad this time around. Some new version of an iPad Pro.
See, is an iPad like equal now to a laptop?
To them, it's probably more valuable than a laptop, I guess. I reckon they sell more iPads than MacBooks.
Because as I said, I've been debating this in my mind whether I buy a MacBook, a framework laptop, or an iPad. And in my mind, I think iPad might be the best option. But then there's also the framework laptop, which is take apartable and fixable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, as an owner of a laptop and an iPad, the MacBook is far more valuable to me.
Okay.
And you're a content creator, so I would go for the MacBook every time. I love my iPad, but it's a YouTube machine. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So you haven't tried using DaVinci on it then?
No. And I wouldn't dare. Why would I do that when I can put DaVinci on my laptop? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I quite like the idea of editing these podcasts on an iPad because I used one of those like drawing pad things that works with computers to edit a podcast. It makes it so fast and great. I love it. I'd highly recommend it.
Well, you mean like the little drawing tablets?
Yeah, drawing tablet things.
Do you know what I thought years ago when the 2016 kind of lineup came out with the giant trackpads? I always assumed that they were going to just make a pen that works with that, or the Apple Pen, in a generation soon. They never did, but they've missed a trick there.
Yeah. So how long do you think the event's going to be then?
So I'm going to say 1 hour, 50 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen one go over 2 hours, so I wouldn't go over.
When you say you don't think you've ever seen one go over 2 hours, do you mean specifically every single Apple event that they've done, like these type of Apple events, including WWDC? Or do you just mean the phone?
No, all of them. I can't remember one going over 2 hours.
I'm pretty sure the WWDC one this year was 2 hours 15.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I think the one before was even longer.
I can't say I've noticed, but the longer the better. I would not complain if they're longer. I enjoy them from start to finish.
Do you think we'll get an update on the Vision Pro? I don't feel like it will be like
no,
we've changed things. No. I think it might just be we're still working on it, or just a little notice that it's still there.
No, I don't think we get a thing. Do you know what we'll get at most? On one of the little promo images of someone using a new Apple device like a phone, you might see a Vision Pro in the background or something.
Yeah.
I don't think they nah.
I know that developers right now have been able to get access. If you have a developer account, I'd highly recommend it because in London at the moment, you can go and use the headset. As long as you don't disclose any information about it, you're allowed to use it.
I've got a developer account.
You got a developer account? Go on down.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to get one in 2013 to get iOS 7.
Yeah. You should go and put on the Vision Pro then.
I'll have to check it out and see what it's like.
Only problem is you can't tell me.
I can, because I won't need to use that again. They can ban me all they want.
All right. Do you think there's any possibility that they will have a small phone? I think there's a very slim chance, maybe like a 5% chance.
Did they have one for the last gen?
No, last gen was the one where they killed it.
Yeah,
You think
he's
they
dead.
Yeah. I don't think they would go that quickly back on themselves to bring back a small phone within a year.
And Dynamic Island probably doesn't work at that size either. And I can't imagine them having an inconsistency there.
Yeah, they probably did kill it actually for operating system reasons. I kind of like the Dynamic Island. I think I hated it initially, but I like it now. Here's the biggest question. So with the whole of AI news that's been going on, or LLMs, or whatever it is that's going on right now, is Siri dead?
Most people don't even know they've, or remember they have Siri on their phones. I use Siri. I just used it before this for a reminder. I use it all the time. But yeah, I think it is.
You think Siri's dead? You don't think that they're going to rebrand Siri as this artificial intelligence system? Or are they just going to kill it and make something new?
Well, they made a point of saying about if it's not artificial intelligence, but they made a point of saying, you know, they're doing everything locally and it's the danger. Tim Cook done some interviews talking about the danger of AI. So I think they're distancing themselves from that whole language. And I don't think they'd make a big song and dance about how Siri now, you know, sources information for the internet with your requests. And no, I don't see him doing that.
I think Apple would do what they usually do, which is get something that everyone else is using, remake it in an Apple way, and then say it's safe, and then give it out. I feel like they are going to do AI at some point, specifically because they have currently got Apple GPT, as its code name is, inside of Apple at the moment.
They'd be silly to not to ignore AI. I just don't think they'd put it in a product as personal as the iPhone without gaining or working out how to gain trust, because they've built their whole last 5 to 10 years on security, locally saved. AI just goes against all of that sort of stuff.
I think we've got a couple of years until they do introduce AI to the platform.
Yeah.
Because Apple like to be very safe and secure about what they're doing.
Yeah. And I trust them. I believe them. I trust them, and I know what's going on. I'm more aware than the average Joe with an iPhone what's going on. And they don't want to portray that trust at all. Is it? Where's the money? Think about Apple. That's how they think. Where's the money? They've built up a brand. They've built up trust. Where's the money in AI that's going to kill or make more money than that?
I think if they do announce a new AI, they'll probably announce it with a new HomePod. Because the HomePod, it would be the area it'd be most used. Let's be honest, we don't really chat to our phones anymore. It's primarily these home assistant things that we have.
Yeah, either that or the car.
Or the car, if they ever release a car.
Well, it looks like they're looking to really take over the brains of the car, doesn't it? So maybe they license that.
I used Android Auto recently. I love it. I think it's great. I'm very happy with how that system works. And I imagine I would like the Apple version, CarPlay or whatever it's called. It's just very easy and convenient.
Yeah, CarPlay's great. I haven't tried Android Auto, but they're great services. I just wish I had a car new enough to be able to do it.
I think this is going to be my last question, and then we can wait a week and get back to this conversation again.
Okay.
Will there be a silly Federighi joke?
What was his last one? It was the swear word one, wasn't it?
It was a swear word one and the dual guitar.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say on a thermometer,
we're going 100.
Chance. We're definitely getting a Craig Federighi joke, and I'm looking forward to it. It's great.
Okay, right. We'll see you all in a couple minutes, I guess, or a couple of seconds. But for us, it will be a week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, instead of having an ad segment here today, I'm going to just announce that Functions is moving on YouTube. Should put that in first, really. We're trying something new. We're going to be having all of the Function stuff separated into its own channel, so you can easily follow everything Functions and not have to bother with trying to find it each time. I hope that this will be a convenient change. If nothing comes of this, we'll probably move back, but for now, you're going to have to swap over to Functions. I think it's at Function Pod on YouTube. See you there. Well, okay, so now it's after the event, a day after. What did you think of the event? I'm just going to open up with that while I open my notes.
I think the event was not very interesting, actually.
I agree.
From the start, as soon as Tim Cook said, we're going to go Apple Watch and iPhone, I thought, oh, this is going to be boring because we already know.
Yeah. I found it incredibly, I guess funny is not the correct word, but the fact that they started with, we have saved lives again. They did that with the last event, and they've done it again this time, but they really went deep into that this time.
Oh, with the car crash stuff.
Yeah, and the people crying, and wow, they want you to know that they have saved lives.
Yeah, they're going that kind of, I don't know, the religious type savior. The whole thing was about we are the saviors of the planet.
Yeah, which is
that was
weird. Yeah.
I thought it was quite interesting, actually, when they'd done the Mother Nature or Mother Earth section, which was far too long.
Far too long, but I actually enjoyed it.
But I just thought it was they're so hypocritical because they know what's coming. They know with the cobalt mining and the kind of little kids doing all their mining for them, they're in trouble. And so they're starting to counter that before it comes their way.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough, in my opinion.
It's kind of putting a blanket over someone's head, isn't it? Blinding them by going, look.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, Apple, they've done a lot of those things that they mentioned, but only primarily because they've been forced to do it.
And because they're making loads of money from it, so it
and
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, they're probably, I don't know any stats, people, but they are probably doing the most damage to the planet out of all of the tech companies, I imagine, because of the sheer volume of products they ship. The batteries alone are
I don't know about that.
Well, who makes more batteries than Apple? Or who has more batteries manufactured than Apple? Because they're the real problem.
How many devices does Samsung release a year? And how many of them are explosive?
But I'm not talking about damage that way. I'm talking about damage in terms of the environment and the workforce. I
just think there are definitely more companies out there that are doing more damage than that.
Does anyone ship more battery products than Apple?
There's got to be another company. I've checked, but we're in a room that has no Wi-Fi, so we can't.
Yeah. So that was a bit annoying. I felt like they were padding time, I'd call it.
It did feel like that. It felt like the whole show was padding time. Like, we have 2 devices to launch. Well, multiple sections, I guess, to launch. And that's it. So they had to come up with other things. Well, what have we been doing a lot of recently? We're environmentally friendly. Go, we'll pick that.
They are a great marketing company.
Yeah.
Tim Cook's a good sport, I'll say that.
Although he did, when he was sat in the Mother Nature scene, he looks so awkward.
the long stare part.
Yeah. That was great.
That was good. That was really good.
I found it weird, yet again, with that Mother Nature thing, the fact that they kind of said, we're solving the environmental problem for you by paying to plant trees and all this every time you buy a phone.
Yeah.
I think that's going to work because...
That's the offsetting.
The offsetting. That, right? Yeah. But I think that's going to work for people because we've had so many years to think about how our environmental impact is impacting everything.
Yeah.
And let's just be honest, we're not doing enough. And I think by Apple doing some of the work, that's going to convince more people they should do more.
Yeah, and when you say people, you mean other big companies to follow? Yeah, I agree completely. I think Apple are good at shouting about those things, and other companies hopefully will follow suit. But I just don't know if the average consumer cares. I don't know if they're talking to the average consumer. Is it going to stop someone buying an iPhone?
No.
If they don't do those things or don't show they do those things.
I do think people buy devices less often now.
Yeah. for sure.
I've noticed that when like walking around, that people have maybe 2 to 3 year old phones.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've probably got the youngest phone out of me and you now.
Yeah, I've got 20. Well, I don't know what year my phone was, but I've got the iPhone 12, and I do not plan on buying the iPhone 15.
Before I went Android, though, I did have the iPhone 5S until the iPhone 11 came out.
That's a long stretch.
I didn't like any of the other phones. I didn't want to buy a new phone, so I stuck with iPhone 5S for a very long time. Apple surprisingly moved around a lot. They usually keep to in campus, and then sometimes going to an amazing view with a landscape that you wish you were at, or Apple's going to turn into wallpaper next year. But this time they were in a factory of some sort.
They were on like a bridge.
Yeah, they went to a bridge.
Yeah.
I think I know something about that bridge.
I like their transitions. I do like the transitions and the kind of drone and the kind of ramping up of speeds and whatnot. But they had one transition that I was really upset about, and it was when they went to the bridge. So the drone came out of whatever scene it was, and it got to the bridge, and you saw this wide shot, and it approached the exec. I don't know his name. And as it approached him, he was center frame. They then cut to their real camera to the right of frame, and it was too close to a jump cut, and I was disappointed because they spent millions on that, I'm guessing.
See, you got annoyed by the jump cut. For me, it was the stabilization, because I was watching on the bridge, and they were obviously using digital stabilization afterwards to fix everything.
Okay,
and it was really wobbly. The entire of the background. Maybe the host was fine, but the background was moving around a lot.
Oh, really?
And it was bugging me. I think my favorite transition they ever did was, I think it was when they introduced the Mac Studio and the M1 series. They were in Steve Jobs' theater downstairs talking about it, and then it would the animation in the background would go up.
Right, okay.
And then they would go to the top bit, and then the animation would come from the bottom up. And I generally found that incredibly satisfying, that animation.
I don't know, because these videos are so creative. I don't know if it would serve them to go back to the performances on the presentation anymore.
I don't think they're planning on ever going back to those, because they've got a way of the press still getting their hands on the product early, so they've still got a reason for people to go there.
Yeah,
but I do feel like there needs to be more for the press to do, because after they've got this device, that's it. It would be nice to maybe have, how they have the developer talks for WWDC? They should have a post-show talk where someone comes up on the stage and talks to them. Actually, I have no idea if they do this.
They might do a few things. Speaking of press, though, whilst we're there, I thought it was really interesting that they they referenced Marcus Brownlee.
Yeah, and they got one of his quotes wrong.
Did they?
The first quote they cut off a bit that says, "I wouldn't buy it."
Oh, yeah, well, it's not wrong. That's just kind of paraphrasing, I guess. But I wonder what he's going to say about that. And if he obviously noticed, but they're obviously taking his audience quite seriously.
Yeah, I think Marcus Brownlee's a big impact on Apple now. He primarily reviews all the Apple products, and let's be honest, when you look at his desk tour, it's all he uses.
Has he said anything about the event yet?
No. Linus Tech Tips posted on Flowplane 20 minutes before we went for this recording. Right. That's the first report I've seen.
Cool.
And Upgrade did a live recording yesterday, an hour after the event.
I saw that, and I keep mentioning Brian Tong. Brian Tong was there, and he had the device with loads of kind of people in a room sandwiched together. And he was going for a few bits on it, but that's all I've seen.
I don't know who Brian Tong is.
Check out Brian Tong. He's great.
Is he? Oh, I have to Google him later.
Well, he's big enough for Apple to invite him down. So,
fair point.
And I remember when it happened, it took him years, like 10 years to get to that point. And he's super, super pumped. So let's talk about the phone then.
Okay. So what do you think of, not the Pro, but the general phone? What do you think it will look?
Does it look different?
Slightly.
Oh, the back.
Well, they changed the position of the cameras slightly.
Okay.
And they made a fancy bump.
Well, they're kind of beveled.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think they changed how they did the metal as well. which is I think it's okay.
I don't think I understood that. The color is in the metal or something like that.
So it's not the way I thought it would be done, which was anodized, which is a kind of electrifying it in a way. That's a very easy way of saying that. There's much more complicated ways. It's confusing. I'll have to do some more research into it. I will say I like the bump, which is a sentence I thought I'd never say. It was when they showed it, I thought that's more satisfying than the ones they've had in the past, where it's kind of I think a glass where it gets darker at the top.
Yeah.
I also like that they seem to be going closer to making it more repairable
With the back.
Mm-hmm. And now let's not paint Apple as saints there. They're definitely being forced to do that.
Of course, yeah.
But it is nice to see.
I like the fact that the dynamic island is coming to everything.
I really didn't like the dynamic island initially, but I think it's a really cool idea now, and I'm all up for it.
It's something that makes them unique and that Android manufacturers can't necessarily replicate easily.
I don't like the punch hole. I don't know why so many people think the punch hole is a good idea. I like the older days where it was just the black bar at the top, and that deal, I was fine with that.
But yeah, like we said, bezels are not cool, are they?
No, bezels aren't cool.
I did call, say this now, I called the USB differentiator with the Pro, and I thought of you when I saw it.
Yeah.
So we've got the standard USB 2, USB-C,
Yeah.
and then we've got USB 3 on the Pro.
Which is irritating.
Typical Apple. Why? Because you would want them to have...
No, because
Thunderbolt
it can't cost a lot to put a USB 3 driver on the basic phone.
But this is why Apple are the richest
I've
company
got it on my
in the world.
motherboard.
But they're reusing the Pro chips from last year, right? Because it's the 16 they said.
Yeah.
So they're reusing that Pro chip from last year, and they've made the is it called 17 Max or something? 17 Pro.
The A17 Pro.
Yeah, and they made a point to say this has got the USB-C driver on it or USB-3 driver on it.
Yeah.
So.
I really didn't like the idea of that. That annoys me because you know how much you're paying for just USB to be added there. You can buy USB-3 PCIe cards for £20.
This is Apple.
I know.
You're buying
the
the experience. But no, so I guess it will make people like you happy. They mentioned that you can now have your 60 frames per second if you're using their raw video or ProRes or whatever it is.
That's for the Pro, not the generic phone.
Yeah, the generic phone just got a standard USB 2, isn't it?
The generic phone got a 48 megapixel camera, which is better than last time, which I think was a 24 megapixel camera, if I remember correctly. I really like the work they did into the portrait images. I've never been interested in portrait, but the fact that it automatically picks that up.
Yeah.
And then you can change focus.
That was cool. Yeah.
That is really useful.
That's a good idea. I like that. And being able to kind of choose what's in focus at a later date is quite cool as well.
I will say I'm surprised that there was no mention of colored cables. But
like the MacBooks. Yeah. They should have done that, yeah.
But afterwards, I listened to an episode of Upgrade, as I said, and they were discussing that those might be for the iMacs or something like that.
Ah, okay. Did you notice that when they were talking about the Pro, and they said, it's got this kind of up to, is it 10 megabits per second or something? Gigabits per second or megabits?
I didn't write that down.
10 gig. I think it's 10 gig per second USB 2. Yeah, because Thunderbolt's 40, isn't it? Mm. But anyway, they said with an optional cable.
Yeah, I know. The optional
so
cable.
they're not going to give you that cable. They're going to give you the standard USB 2, USB 2 cable. Yeah.
Hours after the event, they released in secret on the Apple Store Type-C to Thunderbolt.
Oh, did they?
And I thought it was quite funny.
Right, okay. But standout features?
With the iPhone, they have voice isolation, which is more software. Pretty much, even though this is supposed to be the release of new products, it was more software based. The voice isolation is cooler.
I missed that.
With the iPhone Pro, we got no mention of or usage of the periscope lens. Turns out that was a complete fluke. Not a thing that's happening this year. Maybe next year we can hold hope.
Yeah.
We got the action button.
That looks cool.
I like it.
That looks cool. I am going to miss my Switch, but I like the ability to customize. I'd like to see how customizable it is, because Apple, they said it's customizable. Does that mean we get 2 options, or
you get their options? They've already made the menu that you can use.
And they gave on the demo. They said camera. They said profiles, and they said the on and off, and that was it.
I wonder if it's got focus modes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Profiles, focus modes, and that was it. But
they got shortcuts as well, which they even mentioned will allow you to launch apps. So you could
do anything then.
Yeah, you could.
If you can be bothered to set up a Siri shortcut.
And you want it to take more time. Because if you go through shortcuts, it takes slightly longer on anything.
Okay. I think I would use it as a camera button. Yeah, that would be.
I see. I don't understand that. Why camera button?
Because on an iPhone, you have to swipe to get your camera. But you're not on an iPhone, are you?
When did they get rid of that? When did they get rid of the double tap to open camera?
Double tap what?
Double tap the power button to open camera. They changed that?
I guess because double tap is for Apple Pay.
I was unaware of this.
Yeah, so having a button there would be great, so you can just go click, click, done. So I like that.
When I used Apple, all you had to do was click that twice and then camera app opened.
That's because you had a fingerprint sensor though.
No, the fingerprint sensor was down here.
Yeah, but that was used for Apple Pay, the fingerprint sensor.
Oh.
So now,
that actually makes me sad that they got rid of that.
Less options.
Now I understand why so many people wanted to make that the camera button.
Here's the biggest con. The biggest con is the Pro Max. Having to have the Pro Max to have the 5 times optical zoom is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. What's the point in getting a Pro? And a lot of people might not want that extra big, uncomfortable phone, but may want that feature.
I never even noted down the Pro Max because I didn't see enough of a difference between the iPhone Pro and the Pro Max to make a separate section all about it.
I think that's it. That's the differentiator, the camera, the lens.
Yeah. I did like one thing about the Pro Max, and I don't know if this comes to the Pro as well, is that you can plug it into your Mac.
And charge it.
No, and take photos when it will be automatically uploaded to your computer at the same time. You not see that at the end? It was the photography section where they were all talking about cameras.
Yes. And they had the guy in the studio taking pictures. And I thought, who's in the studio with an iPhone and a big studio set up like that, but they're using an iPhone for their stills?
I think that's a great thing. But I will agree with you. I don't think very many people are out there.
You can buy a decent studio camera for half the price of the iPhone. So why would you have that in your studio?
Yeah, the Blackmagic camera is the same price as the iPhone. Not including the lens, though.
But I mean, for stills, you can get a decent kind of Canon for 700-800 quid.
Also, the fact that the Type-C can use external hard drives for recordings.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good because that means content creators that use their phones to record, or photographers who are using their phone for some reason, they can now rip the footage straight off. And apparently, it's even faster than the built-in storage.
Yeah, I could see that being useful. And the fact that it's faster as well over USB-C 3 is great. I would probably use that if I wanted to shoot something on my phone. There's going to be a case that lets you slide your little T3 drive in or whatever, isn't there? Yeah.
My brother pointed out something incredibly funny. And once he pointed it out, we couldn't not notice it.
Okay.
During the A17 Pro talk, they mentioned Pro a lot. I rewatched it.
It's the most pro phone we've ever made.
Yeah.
That was great.
The Pro.
Yeah.
I think I counted 62 times they said Pro.
Wow. Yeah. They're getting desperate.
I would say, though, if you were writing a script and the word Pro comes up 62 times.
Yeah.
Rewrite the script and remove the Pro.
It sounds like that was what they wanted, yeah? So that was a point of emphasis was Pro.
That's bad script writing, and I'm not a good script writer either.
I will get the iPhone 15. I think that will be the next one I get. I just won't get it this year.
I still want the smaller phones to be back.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I know. I want to talk about something that you may not find that interesting, Well, you weren't interested in, I'm going to guess on this, but for processing power, this is incredibly interesting. They showed games running on the phone.
Yeah.
Not some game made for the phone. They showed Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
A game I cannot run on my PC or the Steam Deck at a good frame rate.
Yeah.
And they were running it upscaled with ray tracing at 30 frames a second. That is insane to me.
Is that impressive? Because
yes,
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch the event in real time, and I just skipped. I skipped the whole game section.
That's impressive because the Steam Deck that I have with me right now, that can't do ray tracing.
Okay.
Cannot do upscale. Well, cannot really do upscaling, and it cannot run a lot of these powerful games.
Right.
I that's doing that. I think they even said at 4K 60 sometimes.
Okay.
That's not at 4K. That's not at 1080p.
Is that content going to be available for the iPhone?
Meaning?
Are these game developers and manufacturers going to make those games for the iPhone and make them that good?
I have no idea. I just know that Capcom and Apple are on good turf at the moment.
Okay.
They are chatting a lot, and it seems like the whole Resident Evil franchise might end up on Apple.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool. I was a Resident Evil 1 was one of my favorite games ever.
I'm
and
currently
Resident
playing
Evil 2, oh my God, blew our socks off. Nemesis, Resident Evil 3. I forgot. It's been like 20 years, man. But yeah, I love that series.
So I've just started playing Resident Evil, and I'm very confused.
Why? You're in
The
Raccoon
controls.
City? Oh, okay.
I'll be honest with you. I get lost often, and I walk into a room and end up leaving the room instantly because I'm holding the controls.
That was a thing. And the door openings were great. That tenseness of opening a door, having that animation, and not knowing if there's something on the other side.
It might have been great then. Kind of irritating now.
Yeah, I know. It was a good example of using a limitation to kind of make your game better.
I know. I love
great.
older games. They're way more entertaining than newer games at the moment. You can record at 4K 60 FPS and log encoding.
Yeah, that caught my attention. And do you know what else caught my attention? What did they have on their screen when they mentioned log encoding?
I don't know. I think I was too busy writing.
They didn't have Final Cut Pro. They didn't have Premiere Pro.
DaVinci?
They had DaVinci Resolve. And I thought, hold on. They were mentioning about... So they said, yeah, you can do kind of log profiles and for people doing color grading and whatnot. And then they had DaVinci on the screen. And I thought, why don't you show your software on the screen?
DaVinci's known for color grading.
So yeah, I thought that. I got
Final
a chuckle
Cut
out of that.
Isn't known for color grading. It can do it.
Yeah.
I just don't think people often think of Final Cut for color grading usually.
And Apple are good like that. They don't pretend because they know their customers were going to use Apple products as the brain and accessorize. Where sometimes you watch some of these other things like a Google events and they kind of act like everyone lives in a world where every accessory is Google and every program is a Google-based program. And that's not the real world, is it?
No, I like that Apple actually kind of supports these accessory companies by making a standard. Except they do charge them for it.
Yeah, that's not our problem necessarily. But yeah, that's great. I would love to be able to do that on my iPhone, be able to shoot in kind of like log free or whatever it is they're gonna name their stuff on there.
Talking of shooting in, you ever gonna shoot in spatial camera mode?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna buy the 3D Apple headset Pro thing.
Vision Pro.
That's it. No, that's silly. They're trying to sell the Vision Pro. No one's going to use that because I can guarantee will only work a Vision Pro.
It will be really cool in the Vision Pro. It's probably in its own format as well to do that.
Yeah, it will only work a Vision Pro.
Yeah.
It took me back. I remember Panasonic made a phone, I want to say 2009, maybe 2010. And the phone had the kind of, what do they call it? Stereoscopic cameras on them. And they were like, this is the next thing. And LG tried to do it. Yeah, that never took off.
I don't know that phone.
Yeah, have a look. Panasonic.
The thing it reminds me of is the new Sony camera, the one that has the sensor separated from the body.
Yeah.
So you can add 2 different sensors. That's all that reminds me of. Let's go on to the Apple Watch then, as you're so excited by it.
Let's go on to the Apple Watch. Cool. So I think I'll say up top, this is the product that I will buy. I'm on an Apple Watch 4, and I think the 9 is definitely a worthy upgrade, for sure.
I'm still on the 2.
You don't see any, you're not urged to get the new one?
I want a phone that can, a watch that can last me months, and I don't need to charge it. I just need it to be there. It tracks that I'm doing walks, runs, and tells me the time. I don't need one that tells me when I'm about to die, or tell me where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I do think Apple Watches are really cool. Not for me.
Okay, cool. No, so some of my favorite features, I really love the double tap.
The double tap.
I think that's...
I do think their phrasing was a bit wrong sometimes.
What did they say?
You can double tap while doing stuff with your other hand.
Okay, but they're right. There are so many times when you want to cancel something on your watch, but you've got one hand free.
Primarily, the video just showed them hanging up on people, and that was it.
Yeah, if you're driving, I can see that being useful.
Around the steering wheel, tapping.
Yeah, I like, but what I really like is the outside of the box thinking of, being able to use gestures based on the movement of your kind of wrists and bones and blood.
That was very interesting.
Because that's going to lead into some interesting things in the future.
My guess is they came to that conclusion of the double tap through working on the Vision Pro.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Because my dad pointed this out as well, and I think I said this on a past episode, it'd be really cool if the watch worked as a controller. And I think they were seriously considering that towards the beginning. And then they went, we'll just use cameras and we'll...
Yeah. But who knows, future-wise, that could be a feature, right?
Yeah. The phone tracking, I like that. That's a really good feature.
It's just an upgrade though, right?
It's an upgrade, but it's because it has the chip now. I don't know if
W2 wideband, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That chip that allows you to track other Apple devices. It's cool. I like the animation it gives you. But you can track your friends as well.
Yeah,
which is
that's kind
slightly
of creepy in the market.
Yeah.
In the market, where the lady's like bending over and he comes up to her, or she does. Yeah,
it is a bit creepy.
Oh, that is creepy as hell. But I mean, for lost bits and if you've got kids and you want to track your kids or they want to track you, cool.
It doesn't mention if it's a permanent sharing or a temporary sharing.
They said it's based on the existing friends, so that's
Okay.
temporary or permanent, depending on user request.
I trust, and I know this is weird to say, I trust Apple with security for some reason. I am very skeptical of every other company, including Microsoft, for using my data.
Yeah.
But because Apple has spent so much time making everything on device, I kind of appreciate all the work they've gone through for that security. I don't know. I cannot tell you if they actually do compromise your security in any way, but I like the fact that everything's on board.
I don't think they set out to, and I think that's the difference.
No.
Those things might happen. I'm thinking of, have you seen Super Pumped? And I said the word Super Pumped earlier. It's a 8-episode series about the story of Uber.
Oh.
And the guy who ran Uber, I forget his name now. Anyway, at one point, Apple are in it, and they have to go to see Apple because Uber have been stealing everyone's data. And Apple find out about it. Eddie Q finds out about it and invites him in, and Tim Cook comes in. And they have this whole conversation about privacy. But it just kind of came to me that actually people can do this without Apple knowing. They'll find out eventually, but it doesn't mean you can blindly trust your phone and the apps are not tracking you. Yeah. And what they done is Apple found out they were tracking all the data of their users. So Apple said, look, you've got to take this out, otherwise you're getting banned. So what they've done is put a geofence around Apple's headquarters so they couldn't see if the devices they were using were in that zone. They couldn't see that they were tracking people's data. But then in the end, one of the guys who works at the App Store took his laptop home, opened it up, and then he could see the code. And that's how they got caught. You should watch it. Super Pumped. It's really good.
All right, it's my list. Are you bothered by the fact that you can now get, on the basic Apple Watch, 2,000 nits to 1 nits of brightness?
I think that's great.
I think it's a pretty interesting... I mean, how many other phones do 1 nit? I don't know. I don't think they advertise nits that often.
No, but I could see a use of both of those in the real world. in bed at night time, all of a sudden that's super bright, right? Your watch and your phone. And I don't think my watch is bright enough outside.
Yeah.
But then they showed what's the big Apple Watch? And they were like,
the Apple Watch Ultra.
and they were like 3,000.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you're killing me. I want that one now.
Soon you'll be able to use your Apple Watch as a studio light.
Yeah. Key light coming from the...
Yeah. It would be interesting if Apple made filming equipment with how much that they do filming.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, really. I still think the Apple Watch name is bad, Apple Watch Ultra.
Okay.
But it's not as bad as the Modular Ultra.
Who made that?
That is a new watch face on
Oh, right, yeah.
the one that is
Turns red at
incredibly
nighttime.
cluttered.
Yeah, they were like, we got the most complications in this ever.
My dad went, ooh, that looks nice. I went, oh, it's full of so much stuff. And it ignores their lovely UI they had for the basic screen.
Yeah.
It had enough information there.
Yeah. But it's only available on the big face one, right? And it's one watch face, so.
Yeah. Okay. Would you pay for any of these? For the new iPhone, the iPhone Pro, which the Pro is £1,000 or 999 as they put it. Mm-hmm. The Max, which is 1,199. Out the phones, what would you pick?
Do I have to pick one? If I'm going to get one, I'm going to get the Mac, I'll get the Pro.
The Pro.
Yeah.
Okay. And you would pay 999 for the Pro.
Yeah, I'd pay £1,000 for that if I was in the market.
Okay. If you had to get an Apple Watch, and I don't think you're looking to get a new Apple Watch, are you?
I am.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you get the basic Apple Watch or the Apple Watch Ultra? The Apple Watch is £399.
Yeah.
And the Apple Watch Ultra is $799.
Now, if you asked me before the event, I'd say the Apple Watch. And I know it says $399, but I think the 44-inch is like $450, so that's what I'd pay. But I'm actually in the market for an Ultra 2 now.
You're going for the Ultra 2?
I want to see what it looks like on my wrist because I've kind of got skinny wrists. But if it looks okay, I think I'll go with that one.
What band would you go with?
I don't know. I haven't even looked into that yet.
They showed a load of these new bands, and I actually like the Nike.
I was going to say that I like the Nike with the flex in it.
Yeah, I the
recycled
plastic
flex
one that kind of looked like
yeah.
Jessamite. It's just a nice pattern, and I quite like it.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway, I think we've gone through all of the keynote things. If there's hang on, one more thing. Just a subtle note. When they went into the iPhone Pro, they played the Apple ringtone.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was quite cool. They kind of mixed it into the track.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
And finally, the iCloud Plus.
6 terabytes.
6 terabytes to 12 terabytes.
Yeah. How much does that cost?
I have no idea. I didn't note that down. But I will say, who has iCloud Plus?
I have.
You do?
Yeah. What? Is that a problem? Do you know why I have it? Because I have family share and everyone uses it. So
We have family share.
okay.
I mean, when I used to be an Apple user, we all were on the same platform.
Hold
We
on,
just never used...
What's iCloud Plus? I have the one where I pay like £2. No, like £4 a month.
I don't know.
I think we get 2 terabytes.
As someone who's never paid for iCloud, I can't tell you.
I think, yeah, that's called iCloud Plus. Could you get these other things with it, like the redirect emails and stuff like that?
Huh.
Yeah. I've got it. So don't
I
say
haven't
anything
done
bad about it.
a Mac segment in a while, but we're going to have to do that next time because we're running out of time.
Yes. Overall then, out of 10, what would you give the event?
Out of 10, 4.
Okay.
No, 3.
Oh, wow. I'll go with 5. Solid 5.
It wasn't interesting enough for me. There wasn't enough cool announcements. And specifically, I like iPad announcements the most. If they announced a new iPad, I'll be up there.
Next time.
You can check out Eli's work on his socials or on his podcast, Where the Key Is At. To follow me, I am at MacBlair on mastodonapp.uk. This episode was edited by Jonas Dixon and co-edited by me, Mac Blackman. Thanks to all of you for listening to this episode. We'll see you in the next one.